Hello and welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
We're glad you're here, where each week we talk about men's health and lifestyle.
We do so with the foundation of the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
If you don't know what keto is, stick around and you'll find out.
The podcast will bring you real, honest fun.
Each week we strive to uncover the tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life to maximize your overall health.
Find the clearest path to becoming the best version of yourself that you were meant to be.
Hey there, this is Chris with a quick note before we go into this week's episode. This week is a 2-episode week because this episode that you're about to hear is a special episode, one that we've been anticipating and trying to get pushed out for you guys, our listeners, for a long time. John, the Mighty Oak, he joins us here in Austin, and so we did an on-site recording with him, and this was largely due to that this was our 3rd attempt. So we allude to some of that stuff as we get started in this episode, but and we know that you've also seen the pictures from Instagram and things like that, so you're probably in the loop to be expecting this episode. But if you weren't, please just sit back and relax. It's a really fun episode to get to talk 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 technically, if you count Jim in via satellite. So that's enough of my rambling. On to the show.
Hello and welcome to this week's special episode of the Keto Man's Club podcast. We are excited to finally be recording this for the 3rd time, sadly, but this time in person. And, me, Alberto, and our guests have come to one place to record this episode. And so we're excited to finally be able to get this recorded and have backups and know that it's going to work, because the first 2 times technical issues got in the way. Before we get into who our guest is and the episode proper, let's go ahead and introduce myself. Once again, my name is Chris, and my co-host Alberto. Say hi.
What's going on, everybody?
And he's not with us in person, but he is definitely with us in spirit, and, well, his ethereal voice is with us. Hi, Jim.
Hello down there.
So remote via satellite, we've got Jim with us as well, and we are having a good old time. We've had a little whiskey, had a little water, and some carnitas, and Jim didn't get to partake in all that, sadly.
I have got to say that I'm starting to get a little bit jealous of Texas family down there.
Well, Southern hospitality is a thing.
Every other week, there's barbecue, there's barbecue and everything, and I'm just up here in Southern Indiana, like, hey.
There's certainly, you
got corn.
Yeah, you got corn, but you can't eat.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to meeting all of you face to face. Yeah.
So it's been a good week. This one's being recorded on a different night of the week than normal. This is Sunday night. We normally record on Wednesday nights. So let's start out with Jim. What's been going on this week for you?
Well, it is the Burr months, so that means cooler weather coming to Southern Indiana and across the country, hopefully. One of the things I've actually tried to find a little bit are some keto soups, keto things that, when it's cooler outside to enjoy. I know that doesn't necessarily apply to our Texan family down there that's on the other end of the line at the moment. But other than that, nothing too wild and crazy. So how are things down there? I mean, obviously you have whiskey and water and happiness, so I really don't even know if I need to ask anything. I need to be a fly on the wall and let you just roll, kids, for the next hour or so.
It's been kind of low key, but we've had a good couple days so far. Our guest joined us for some barbecue last night, and had some really good Texas barbecue. And this morning we got a workout in at 5 freaking a.m. in the morning, but it was good. So it's been good. Any other things you want to shout out or call out, Alberto?
Well, we got our cold front down here, which means it was only 95 today instead of the usual.
Only 95.
Over 100-something degrees. New stuff with me. Work is work. Staying busy there. And I've graduated to the Ketogenic Muscle Intelligence Program Advanced. Not that I couldn't have started there, but I wanted to humble myself and start with beginner. So I suffered through beginner, and I do mean suffered because it was brutal. And then I get to advanced. Advanced is only 4 days a week, and it's just big movements, big exercises, hard, heavy lifts, and a lot of rest periods. So I'm getting used to it. It's going quite well.
Well, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about our guest today. We just to say again, he has the patience of Job at this point because we've tried this. This is the third time, and he just felt the need to come to Texas to make it happen. From all the way from New York, we have Mighty John Oak, and he is here with us here. Hi, John. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm like full of barbecue and happiness. I mean, I joked last night, man, when I took that bite of brisket, like the pure joy of bliss on my face was just like, oh, it was amazing.
That smile on your face whenever you post-sampling of the brisket before we dug in completely because we were waiting on some odds and ends to come in. There was pure joy on that face.
It was amazing. And I don't know if you heard this, Jim, but Tuesday I took a later flight for the express purpose of going around to any barbecue joint I can get my hands on and going around and getting brisket to bring back to my family in New York. So there will be, I will come home with about 4 pounds of brisket. Squad goals.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting through TSA will be interesting on that.
I was going to say, that might be a little bit of a challenge.
Maybe I'll dangle a piece of meat from him, see what happens.
Yeah. So yeah, we have some tentative plans for tomorrow to kind of hang out and enjoy Texas on Labor Day, which will be interesting for sure. But John is one of our group members and absolutely one of the physically largest members probably in the team. He literally had to duck walking into our parking garage last night. To make it underneath the car bar at 6'10". So that's cool. That's a good thing. That's an awesome thing.
Now wait, I think you're exaggerating a little bit because I saw a sign that said 6'9".
The sign was 6'8". He was kind of squished down a little bit under it. Right?
Yeah, I posted a similar picture back, I think, in March. That my brother took, and the sign was actually 6'10", and my head was literally hitting that bar. So, like, it's out of instinct that I duck every time I go through a door because most doors are like 6'8", and given that I've hit my head on ceiling fans, hit my head on just a ton of doorways, it's just instinct. I duck no matter what. So,
ouch.
It's something. You got to see this man work out. I'm like, we're going to use this machine here. Let's see if you fit on it.
Yeah. First step, do you fit? And it was kind of crazy. He and I used the same bar for doing some deadlifts and some basically hip hinges weighted today. And for him, they were deadlifts. For me, they were hip hinges because of the height difference. They were good. They were what I needed for the day, but it was definitely a height difference for that. Well, John, let's go ahead and start at the beginning once again.
Take 3.
So take us back before keto, before growing up, all that. Tell us a little bit of your background, what life's been like, and the pre-keto story of John.
All right, so the pre-keto story of John's pretty. There's a lot of like stuff to like just talk about, so I'll condense it. I was born a very large kid. I was 11 pounds 10 ounces when I was born. So like from the jump, I have been like I think there was like a story I was told that like when I was like 6 months old, my grandmother fed me mushed up cornflakes because she was convinced that I needed nutrition. So just going through school, I was the largest kid, most uncoordinated kid through school. Then in my 20s, things got a little complicated. I was diagnosed at a point with bipolar disorder, and just being treated and stuff like that. I kind of got to the point where I was on this medication, and it just caused me to eat. And I got to the point where I think in my early 30s, I was up over, if not over 600 pounds. So honestly, like there came a point where back in 2011, I just said, you know what, I'm going to have weight loss surgery. Had weight loss surgery, got down as far as like 403. And then at that point, I just started to eat the same crap I ate, before. And I got back up to, I believe I was up to as far as, last year I got up to 516. And that's when I finally told my doctor, I'm like, you need to talk to my psychiatrist about getting me on something different. And you need to, do something to help me lose weight. And that's when she suggested keto. And so at that point, August 6th, 2018 was the day I started keto. I started at 516. And I'm down now to 386. Has been my lowest. I mean, I fluctuate, I think, but it's probably because I'm gaining muscle and building muscle and stuff like that. So, just the amount of gains I've made and everything like that, I've done, I think, incredibly well. And, I'm just enjoying being a healthier version of myself.
Very cool. And so, yeah, you've got, there's a lot to potentially unpack in there.
Yeah.
So let's, so you found keto, and at first it was mainly just so that you could eat better food, or what was that like in general?
Let me just unpack what I would typically eat every day prior to work. I was a Dunkin' Donuts coffee addict. So with that, I would get my breakfast sandwich because I was not too lazy, but I would always forget to eat breakfast in the morning at home. So I'd get a breakfast sandwich. Then I'd have 2 donuts on top of that. So, that in itself, I think is around 150, 160 carbs right there. I think. I've kind of lost, the calculation, but if I ran the numbers right now, it'd probably be something close to that. And just being a social worker and being out in the community all the time, I rely on just, fast food. So you add, a couple hamburgers or, eating Five Guys without or with the bun, that adds more carbs to it too. So like out of the old habits that I had, what led to my unhealthy lifestyle. And honestly, like I've had family members, I come from a very large family, and because of my family's history of heart disease, cancer, and everything like that, I decided to make the conscious decision to, I'm going to break the trend. It stops now. And I think that, my family sees everything that I've done in the last, little over a year, and they're immensely proud. And they're like, they see all the gains and stuff that I've made, and I've done really, really well.
So did I hear that right? Like, did your doctor prescribe you keto?
Yes, she did. She actually does keto herself. And I'll give a shout out to Dr. Brittany Morse, at, my, outside Batavia, New York. She does a phenomenal job. She's been supportive of it. She's told me I've ketoed a little too hard at times, because my cholesterol has been a little off whack, but, she told me, take it down on the red meat, need a little plant-based protein, and you should be fine. And my levels have been okay. My levels have been what you would expect for a 42-year-old man. I mean, and that's the thing, that's the stereotype that comes along with this diet is, well, your cholesterol is going to go, skyrocket. And it really doesn't. If you do it right and you pay attention to what you eat and what you put in your body, then you're going to be fine.
John, I'm curious, did the doctors ever say what your ideal weight was because of your height? I mean, obviously with being 6'9", 6'10", whatever it is, I mean, you're going to be a bigger guy. So where was the desired number that they thought you should be at?
She's always told me because honestly, and like you look at like the weight charts and stuff like that, they had me in the 250s, and I don't think with my frame that I would look good, being 250. So like she's always said, if you go for a BMI like in the high, mid to high 20s, and you're not obese, quote unquote, you're gonna be okay. So like that's my goal. I don't look at weight. I mean, per se, I know like when I first joined the group, I made constant posts about the scales not moving. What do I do? But now I joke, I do like a John's Monumental, gain of the week or something like that. I forgot what last week's was, but it's just little things that I notice that like make me happy and motivate me.
That's an important thing, and this is kind of skipping ahead, but while we're here, let's go ahead and talk about that. For you, the shift, the focus seems, well, we talked about this earlier today. It's really kind of hard to have an interview with a guy that we've been hanging out with. But for you, it's very clear that the focus is no longer hitting a number on the scale or specific metrics so much as it is enjoyment and quality of life and whatnot. What's been key to that shift for you?
I think given that so in like March and April, well, it was in February, I was having problems that they suspected was kidney stones. And on that, on the day I was supposed to have a CT scan, the insurance company, screwed things up, didn't get approval in time. So my doctor finally said, just go to the emergency room. And so they did a CT scan. And I remember it was like it was like 11:30 at night. And the PA came in and she said, they found a mass on your kidney. And so I sat and I stewed for like a day and went and saw my doctor, and she's like, well, let's just have an MRI done, see what it's at. And it was, long story short, they ended up removing it in May. And so like, thankfully, 7 to 10 days later, they came back with the result that it was benign. But I think what kind of changed for me was seeing that I could go the way of my mom and have cancer. And, I live my life to the point where I want to live my life to the fullest and be able to celebrate each day and be able to look back on like my Facebook memories and just see happiness. There's so much crap in the world, and I can choose to be miserable, or I can choose to have, joy and just live my best life.
That's a good way to live.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot less stress that way. It's just...
And the thing about it is I do have a stressful job, but I give myself things to look forward to every day. Like, you guys joke with me all the time that I go to Disney too much, but that is my go-to. I came down here, just to get away from, things for a bit and just experience, Texas, because I've always wanted to go to Texas and eat barbecue. I've eaten so much barbecue this weekend. I'm probably going to explode. But I've learned to look at the small things and just take it in. It's just amazing. I did deadlifts today. A guy my size, for one thing, and I didn't really necessarily look good at it, but I think I did a confident job.
We got you there.
Yeah.
We got you there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is probably one of the most surprising parts to me in my journey, is how capable I actually physically am, way beyond what I ever thought I would. And now I am by far not the world's best athlete, but I can actually see that there's a little bit of an athlete in me, which is something that growing up or all that, I just never even imagined would be the case. I just never never accepted or imagined that would be, be me. And seeing your work ethic in the gym and the effort that you put in, you're an athlete.
Yeah. Well, funny story is so this year, I finally returned to playing softball for my church, and it's because I felt like I was confident enough to make it. And I did this after I played before my tumor removal surgery, or my adrenalectomy. And I played after. I think I played 5 weeks after my surgery. And I'm 6'10", and I was over 400 pounds at the time, and I was running from, second to home. And I joked with Alberto that I had no business, I sent him texts and
I got the
my
pictures.
my heart rate was up to 170, but I'm like, this is amazing. You bottle this stuff up. I'm like, I love this.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah, you got probably one of the hardest work ethics as far as motivating yourself to go to the gym. And it's one thing to see the pictures on Facebook and this guy goes to the gym, this guy puts it in hard. But when you work out next to him and you saw the pictures that I posted, John's enormous. He's a giant human being, and it's something that you don't capture in a picture. So when I see you at the gym and you're sending me those pictures and those texts, I was able to appreciate it a lot more today, because even the simple task hey, we're going to do these dumbbell rows over this bench, that bench is way farther down for you than it is for me. And we had to do a little bit of modifications and we got it. But I just want to kind of give you a shout out that you've been going at it for a while, man. And you've just been figuring it out on your own and just hey, as long as I show up and keep pushing, then something good's going to happen. And now talk about, you changed gyms, you got a new trainer.
So I broke up with Planet Fitness. It was a painful breakup. She got half of everything. So I honestly, so a little bit about my routine. So I wake up 4:15 every morning, and I'm usually out the door and at the gym by 5 o'clock. Well,
and I usually have 2 or 3 text messages by then.
So there is a gym literally probably about a mile and a half from my house. And it's unlike any gym I've ever been a part of. And, honestly, and I'll give a shout out to them too. Backyard Barbell in Elba, New York. They're phenomenal. It's the onion capital of New York State. You can't miss the smell. So they're, it's unlike any other gym. And I've been working with this amazing guy by the name of John Morosi. He's done a phenomenal job with me, just giving me routines. And that's all I need. You give me something to chew on for a couple weeks, and I'm good, and, I did a sled for the first time in my life, and it felt amazing afterwards. I couldn't walk for a day or two after, but it was one of the best workouts I've done, and so the gains are starting to show, I saw my dietitian last week and she's like, wow, you've changed. I'm like, yeah, I have. And upper body strength wise, I think is finally catching up as far as I'm getting a lot stronger, and yeah.
So did you pull a PR this morning when we were benching on the barbell?
I tied the PR. I think we stopped at 5.
We stopped at 5.
Yeah.
Well, you told me the goal was 5, so we stopped at 5.
Yeah. So I did 125 on the bench, which honestly, the problem is, and you guys touched on it with me, is equipment that matched my size is half the battle. The thing I like about my new gym is the bench is old style, so it's adjustable and
yeah.
You go to these places Planet Fitness or whatnot, and it's they don't even have a bench. I don't think.
You're lucky to get a Smith machine there.
Yeah.
But and just to say you matched your PR, but you're out of town. You're not at your home gym.
Yeah.
You're not sleeping in your bed. You're eating not the way you normally eat. All those things play a factor, especially on PR week. All those things play a huge factor. So the fact that you were able to go through all that and still match a PR, that's saying something.
I think too, honestly, I didn't feel like I did that good of a workout, and I kind of looked at my stats on my watch, and I couldn't have burned close to 1,000 calories. But over the time, I think
we were there for a while.
Yeah, we were there for a while. We were doing a lot, so
Well, and sometimes it's not about calorie burn. It's about just doing the work and doing new things that you never thought you would try.
John, I'm
and
curious.
things like that.
We've talked about your past and everything like that. Are other members of your family? Do they have a higher than normal height? Do they have weight issues or anything like that?
So I can tell you, my brother, who's my half brother, does not. My sister, who is also my half sister, did. So she had similar issues. She addressed it her way. I think the one problem in my family, at least on my dad's side, has been diabetes. Like my mom's side of the family is healthy as an ox. My uncle's in great shape. He does like 18 miles on the bike every day, and he's just phenomenal as far as like how he does things.
I just was curious if your height is definitely not the norm, so I wasn't sure if there was any certain reason for that or anything like that, and if the weight was also part of that as well.
No, I think honestly, what I think happened with me was just the psychotropic drugs. I honestly, I was on a medication called Depakote, and that's historically really, really bad as far as weight gain goes. And I was on, I fluctuated all the time. In fact, my doctor tried a bunch of stuff, including an injectable, to like try to curb my hunger. And honestly, it comes down to just choosing the right medication, and going to, I go to a therapist every couple weeks. She helps me with that. I see a nutritionist. I'm addressing like the whole issue. It's like I used to be able to just like, just address one thing at a time, and then it's kind of like playing that the game where the hedgehogs just keep on popping up and stuff like that, and it's just whack-a-mole, and it's just I couldn't address the whole thing. And honestly, like I even told my doctor, because the doctor that did my surgery, that if I had this mindset when I had the weight loss surgery and I just didn't use it as a fix, it would have been a game changer for me. Like it would have been, I wouldn't have had this problem that I had where like I fell back on bad habits. If I would have learned to eat low carb, whether it be South Beach or Atkins or even keto, I probably wouldn't have had the problems that I had.
Understood.
So, just stepping back a notch, you were saying that your doctor prescribed you keto. Have you heard of keto prior to your doctor prescribing that to you?
No.
And what was your initial reaction? How did she present it to you, first of all?
She wanted me to read this book called Simply Keto that you can get on Amazon, because that's what she did. And she like told me to just use Keto Karma for, which has this macro calculator, and just keep it simple. She's just like, track your food, avoid the carbs, stay away from Dunkin' Donuts, and and just eat meat. And like I can eat meat all the time. I love like eating meat and everything like that. It's given that I could eat, I remember the first like thing, because like one of my favorite things to eat in my town is Five Guys. Five Guys is like one of the only burger places there, and I remember like discovering I can eat Five Guys just without the bun, and it's delicious. What? Like, so that was a game changer for me. Like, I remember that first week after I got over the keto flu, that like I could, I lost like I think 18 pounds. I lost like 42 pounds the first month.
Wow,
or something like that. I'll look at what I lost, but I can tell you that like that's pretty much, the weight came off, and it came off at a significant clip.
Yeah, I think it was David Blako that I mentioned. I think he said he was on, is it Weight Watchers at those points?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was saying that like he quickly figured out, well, if I take the bun off, that allows me an extra patty. And so like, yeah, he figured that game out quick, and kind of the same little revelation like you had.
So is there anything that has struck you by chance or like been surprising that really sticks out to you, whether it's a personal accomplishment or something just about keto in general, something that either you haven't mentioned before or something that it seems a little out of what even other people might have expected?
I can honestly tell you that, like, when I first started keto, I made things incredibly complicated. I bought every keto product on Amazon, and not saying that they're not good products, but like, I just thought, oh, hey, this will help. And it's just, you got to keep it simple. Like, one of my go-tos, in fact, I brought a bag with me on the plane, was pepitas that I get from Aldi. They're salty, they're good, and they hit the spot when I was trying to resist the urge for a Lorna Doone on the plane. So that was incredibly easy for me. So like when I like go out and with my family, if like I'm at like a steakhouse and they have chili, I'm gonna get a bowl of chili because if it fits within my macros, I'm not incredibly restrictive. So I think it's all about personal preference. And I think if anything that is an important thing to teach, especially new people on keto, is don't take what you hear on Facebook, like these beginner groups, as gospel, because it's really not. It's like, are you comfortable? Can you do it? Does it fit within your macros? Then if it does, what are the ingredients? Are the ingredients clean? Mm-hmm. Then if that works, it works.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to ask, John, you talking about the macros. How do you track? Because that is a very common question we hear from guys about the methods of tracking and all of that. What have you found that has worked for you?
So I use Carb Manager. And again, it comes down to personal preference. I like that they have virtually every food. I've used MyFitnessPal and stuff like that. I guess it's okay. I personally enjoy, using Carb Manager because it integrates with everything. And, it's just an easy program for me to use.
So one of the things that, not to name drop, but me and Carl Franklin talked about earlier this week on an interview was that he tracks his blood glucose enough that early on in his keto journey, he had a couple times where he carved up and it took like a week to recover. And then recently, he's 2-3 years in, he chose to go ahead and have, splurge a little. Sometimes I know he travels internationally, and when you're in a city that you don't, anyone, keto or not, is gonna splurge a little, have some local delicacies. Why not? I totally get it. It makes sense. So that's probably what he was doing, and so but the thing that he said that was like, yeah, that's it, is that in comparison to what he had done previously when he was first getting started, and it took a week to get glucose levels, just glucose, not talking about ketone levels at all, just glucose levels down to a normal, healthy range for him, which is the top, 90, 90s, low hundreds. It took about 3 hours now as compared to days before, and that's a sign of metabolic healing. You are probably to the point where you're starting to see some metabolic healing, to the point where splurging a little bit is less of an issue metabolically.
Well, I can tell you that, so I go to Disney. I've been to Disney. It'll be 4 times by the end of the year. And as I've come along with each trip, I've decided that I'm pretty much, because I know how if I have sugar, it I will experience a rush and then a crash. And with the crash, so I now see how my glucose level gets affected by having a little bit of sugar. So hey, if I'm there and the person I'm with wants a snack, hey, have my snack. It's all good. I really don't want it. Like, if I do, so my philosophy is like, if I walk, when I'm there, I usually walk 12, 15 miles a day. So like, if I want like a scoop of mashed potatoes, it's really no harm, no foul. Because the carb level, my carbs, you probably do need carbs, especially in the heat.
Yeah. Well, and you're not talking about a high-processed sugar either. Yeah. You're talking about potatoes.
Yeah.
It's not really that it's still real food, as long as it's real food.
Yeah.
And all of that. So, I'm right there with you. And I think that it comes down to a mentality thing. I know that for me, carbing up every now and again is not a bad deal for me. It's one of those things that, it's one of those things that just kind of happens in life, and with that, I choose not to beat myself up. The only part that I have to be careful on is either making it a habit to where it's a daily thing, or I let that intake of sugar or glucose cause my hormones to spike, and then let those hormones take control, which I have a harder time taking care of. And so I think that's something that we all deal with.
Yeah, that only really gets dangerous when you start getting into the mindset of, well, it didn't hurt me that bad.
Yeah.
And then, next time, well, yeah, I did it yesterday. It didn't hurt me that bad. And then if you carry that on time and time again, then that will definitely become a problem. But it's the difference if it's like, what you're doing, and you know when you're going to do it, and you're going to carry on shortly after and get right back to it. So, I think that's a clear difference.
And I think, like, with me, like, I refer to it as the fat guy mentality. It's the fat guy mentality and the I deserve it mentality. I hate the I deserve it mentality because that is what got me 600 pounds in the first place. I had a rough day at work. I'm going to have another donut, just because I feel like it. Or, you know what? I'll just go and we'll go out and we'll have, pizza or whatever. It's not worth it to me anymore. And the other mentality, I think, if I do decide to have like carbs, it's because I went to the gym and, and I can afford a bite of something and it's not going to kill me or knock me out of ketosis. I can tell you another mistake that people make is buying, for one, pea strips and and I fell into the trap of the ketone like blood meters because I would constantly test myself. I think I even messaged you about it, Chris, because I was frustrated so finally you're like, just get a breathalyzer. You can test yourself whenever you want.
Well, it's that, that it was that. And then the other aspect of the testers is that blood tells you, the blood test gives you a good measure of how much you're storing, how much is in the fuel tank, but it doesn't tell you at all how much you're using.
Yeah.
And so it's an incomplete picture, not an accurate picture, just an incomplete picture. And so something like the ketonics, which you ended up getting, that gives you a measure of how much you might be using. It's still got a little bit of question mark at the end of it, but it's a metric that you can still use to kind of give you some, so.
Hey there, gents. I know it feels like a long ways away, but it will be here before you know it. KetoCon 2020. It's happening June 12th through the 14th in Austin, Texas. We're wanting to get a Keto Man's Club event set up and want you to attend. The reason we're bringing this up now is that you don't want to miss out on the half-price weekend tickets. This offer is only good until September 30th, so you do not want to miss out. $150 gets you a full weekend at the conference, amazing speakers sharing their stories and knowledge, the chance to hang out with other keto friends and family, and so much more. There's a link in the description that you can use, or you can visit ketocon.org for tickets. Don't wait. Get your tickets now.
Well, John, I'm just curious. I'm going to throw a couple questions out there. We always ask our guests. Tell us about your favorite meal now that you've been on keto for a while. What's your favorite go-to?
Oh, I can tell you that my favorite.
And I'm going to interrupt you real quick and say if it is the stew looking thing that you put on Facebook earlier, you're going to have to go through the whole process of what's in that because it looks absolutely incredible.
Oh, that was Alberto and his carnitas that he made. That turned out really good. But I will tell you, my go-to, and when I lost 100 pounds, this kind of opened the floodgate as far as like steak taste for me. There's nothing about. I love cowboy ribeyes or cowboy cut ribeyes and tomahawk ribeyes because they're like 3 inches thick and they are delicious.
What about flap steak?
Oh. So
can we just get that that he said right at the beginning as a soundbite and play that over and over?
Hashtag what about flap steak? So okay. So my wife and I belong
right there.
So let me preface this by saying my wife and I belong to Costco, and like they had this stuff called flap steak. And if you look at the marbling, it has some really good marbling on it. But if you pull it out of the package and you put it on to season it, it looks like salmon. Like as far as like the shape of it.
It really does.
And when you kind of cook it up, it doesn't cook up. It's like part of the bottom round of the steak, I guess. It was still good. I mean, but it was, give me a cowboy cut or a ribeye like any day of the week. There are no good grocery stores in the town where I live that have ribeyes. I will drive 45 minutes out of the way to get a ribeye.
Okay, so now you've talked about ribeyes. The other part to that question is you can't say steak. So what is your favorite keto meal outside of steak?
Okay.
Take your time, because if someone asked me that, I'd have a hard time answering it too.
Okay, so if I can't say steak, I will have to say brisket because... Or is that...
That's still beef.
Oh,
that's still
okay,
steak.
all right.
It's a good loophole.
Sure,
but I'm not gonna...
Okay.
It's how we get unique answers.
I think if I have to go with anything, I love cooking chicken spatchcock style, where you remove the backbone, and it's really good. That and chicken wings are like my go-to. And in fact, I brought you guys some wing sauce from Buffalo. Because that's our claim to fame. So I love chicken, especially with chicken with the skin on it, because you can just put a little salt, pepper, garlic on it, and boom, it's amazing. Okay. And I do grill a lot, as you probably can tell. So
yeah, I get pictures of that all between workout texts and workout videos and workout pictures and grilling and pictures of food. We're each other's feeding and training accountability partners.
Yeah, it proves that accountability and friendship no physical boundaries in an internet age where we are moments away from either a FaceTime message or video or anything like that. So let's talk about goals, finish line. What does and I personally am not the type that believes that there is in health or just in personal development an end game, like a final destination. You're constantly going to find things to improve on. But what's like your current checkpoint?
So the thing that I am focused on is getting down my BMI low enough to where I can have a tummy tuck. That is my big focus. That is my driving force for doing what I do. And honestly, I've had people ask me, well, what are you going to do when you lose all your weight? I'm still going to be keto. Like, in fact, I don't even want to say I might dabble. I'm never probably ever going to go back to, because I don't want to ever go back to being as big as I was.
Yeah.
That is something that will never, ever happen. I joked with you guys yesterday that my rental car is a Camry. And like 2 years ago when I owned a Camry, I was barely able to fit or drive the thing. It's amazing like how far I've come.
Yeah. It's I'm hearing and seeing a lot of parallels between your journey and Mike Gorman's in some of those regards. I was listening to his interview with the two keto dudes just because he's our friend now, and I'm always interested at another perspective. And one of the things that he didn't share in our podcast that he shared there was that he like flat out could no longer fit in his truck and drive. The steering wheel would not turn. He got so large that he had to change vehicles to be able to get into something that the seat could push back far enough. I get it. I was never anywhere close to that, but I see that type of parallel in you. Now, of course, certifiably, you're a very large man, weight or not, extra weight or not. So that's always going to be something that you have to factor in, because at 6'10", you just have to factor that in. What has, due to weight or not, what type of adaptations do you find that you have to make?
So it can go from anywhere. It could be from me trying to fit on a plane. So like, no matter how tall I am or how small I get, like I think I posted a picture to the group yesterday that no matter what I do, like I have to get that seat that Southwest offers, where you get the seat in between you and the other person on the middle seat, because I need that legroom. Unless I in fact, on the flight to Austin, I begged the gentleman that was at the gate to give me the bunkhead row, because it was a three and a half hour flight, and my legs would have been killing me. In fact, my hips still kill me today because it was just uncomfortable in general. So like pretty much with anything, I have to adapt.
Yeah.
John, I'm curious, because you've been a member of the group for quite a while.
Yep.
Do you remember how you found it by chance? And if not, that's okay. But then also tell folks a little bit of why it has been of any benefit to you, whatever it might have been.
Well, I joined August 8th, 2018.
I love that you have a date.
Well, I started keto
I was
August.
not expecting that.
Yeah, I started keto August 6th. And when you start something, you want to learn as much as you can about it. So, like, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. I don't even want to, mention the channels. I mean, if you're a beginner, you probably looked into all the big heavy hitters, or I should say little heavy hitters. But, I enjoy the group because you guys have the expectation that you know the lifestyle. And so while I didn't really know the lifestyle and I posted some really stupid questions in the beginning, like anything, there's maturity. And I think if more than anything, I've turned the questions that I used to ask that used to annoy Alberto in particular, that how he ended up being kind of my mentor.
Because you forced it upon me.
Oh, really? No, I remember. Just call me.
Actually, that's exactly what happened. I'm like, you know what? This will be a 5-minute conversation, or 48 text messages. Let's just do the 5-minute conversation, because then you get lost within text messages, and you start answering the wrong question, and that was unnecessary. But that's exactly how it went. I sent him my number, and I said, you know what? Just give me a call. We'll get this sorted out. It turned
into a friendship and me going to Texas. So, honestly, so there's that brotherhood, man, that I think men are severely lacking in our society. We're just afraid to, ask questions and support each other these days. And I think that's, something that this group really brings to the table more than anything.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
There's a lot of the assumed need for a persona of machismo, or I'm tough stuff, or I don't need anyone else. And the things that I'm learning more and more as I go through life, get a little bit older, go through a little bit more life in general, weight loss or not, I'm realizing I need a tribe. I need brotherhood. I need friends that I can and I am thankful that, I'm lucky. I live 5 minutes from Berto, and he's an amazing, he's turned into an amazing friend and gym partner and someone that challenges me. And so I'm blessed to have him so physically close, but in an internet age, we have each other in the form of Facebook groups and all of that. And that's so very helpful.
Honestly, I legitimately have best friends that I've never met in person before, but you know enough about them. Like any one of these guys, you can pick up the phone and call them, and you just, and you pick up a conversation, as if the last time you talked was yesterday.
I will say that, like, in the scariest time in the past year, that being that they found the tumor, that the amount of support I got from the group was phenomenal. And, I think, you could be, the support was felt. It was felt from, especially with me and, like, the messages I got and everything like that. And, that meant the world to me. Especially, when I, did I end up posting the picture of the tumor?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I think people wanted to see it, though, and I was in a state where I really had.
Well, you did ask. You did ask. People wanted to see it,
so.
But I don't think anybody was the picture you sent was like what it looked like inside of you.
Yeah.
Because when you said, "Do you want to see it?" I'm like, no, but yes. I thought it was going to be like when they take it out and put it in the platter.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, here it is. I always expect that, but it wasn't like it wasn't a terrible picture. You couldn't really make it out. I mean, a doctor would be like, that's not good. But like me, I'm like, yeah, it looks like the inside of somebody.
Facebook didn't block our group. Now, if it had, then we would not be talking to you tonight, John.
Yeah, that would certainly make it a little more difficult.
Sure. So, man, you've been through a lot in your life. Like, a lot. You don't have to go through any of that right now. But how do you think keto has helped you with your mindset and mentally? You have a very stressful job. And do you think that keto has definitely brought something to the table to help you work through these things that you go through and compared to years past?
It's given me the mindset that I get up every morning at 4:15 in the morning and I'm at the gym, 20, 25 minutes later, and I'm busting my hump, making myself a better person, So, and honestly, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, I remember going back to kind of what I was going through, when I realized I gained back most of the weight I lost. I remember just going to a concert that night and just being like, what am I doing with myself? I joke all the time, with the group that one of my favorite bands is Shinedown, and the song Get Up meant the world to me. So that's my mentality, is I get up, I get up every morning and I just push hard no matter what. And there's been some days where I wake up and go to the gym and I don't have it. And I'm like, you know what? I'll give myself a day of rest and go from there.
Yeah, I have this rule, and I told Chris about it all the time. I have this rule where if I hit snooze more than twice, then I clearly needed to sleep. And you know what? And I won't even feel bad about it. If I hit snooze more than twice and I wake up and it's too late, I'm like, I clearly needed the sleep more than I needed the workout. So there's always tomorrow. We'll just carry on.
He's given me many gracious. I was supposed to be up. You must have needed the sleep.
That's it. You must have needed the sleep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, any other final questions, Jim or Berto?
I'm just glad we knocked this one out. I appreciate all the info with John and everything, and you enjoy all that barbecue, man, and swing by Indiana sometime.
Definitely. I've actually been there once, so.
Flew right over it?
No. Actually, I went to Lucas Oil Stadium for a high school football game, the night before it was supposed to be opened when the Colts played the Bears. Not that I remember that somehow, but so. And a funny story, I could not fit in the seats, so I had to sit in the last row in the handicap section with the folding chairs, which is a problem. No matter what concert venue I go to, I have to call the venue ahead of time and be like, look, I'm 6'10", I'm a little bit fluffy. Can you tell me if I'm going to be comfortable in these seats? And 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, oh, we'll just give you folding chair seats, and that's fine. And they end up being close to the stage, which is cool.
That is, I guess, a nice benefit, to being 6'10". Yeah. Okay. Well, let's dive into a couple quick shout outs and then we'll wrap this thing up. It's been a very good conversation here with John. So, Jim, who do you have to shout out for this week's episode?
This is one that I don't think we've ever recognized. Sam Walters. He posted a photo up on August 27th for Transformation Tuesday. He's got a Captain American t-shirt on. So if you scroll through the Keto Man's Club on Facebook, you can recognize the shirt pretty quickly. But he posted up that he started keto in early July, was right at 300 pounds. He's lost 262 pounds, or he's down to, I shouldn't say he's lost 262 because he'd be a baby. He has dropped about 38 pounds over the last 7 weeks or so. He's doing kettlebells a few times a week. And so he's been doing rucking also 3 times a week, which is where you put weight in a backpack and go hiking, marching, whatever the case may be. So kudos to Sam for his nearly 40-pound transformation. So that's my shout out for the week.
Berto?
My shout out is Matt S. on August 23rd at exactly 8:35 p.m. on the Keto Man's Club on Facebook group. He had posted it was actually pretty good. He said, other than being cavemen, what other talents or hobbies do you have? And he posted a little video of him playing the guitar. And it just actually brought up a really, really cool discussion. I didn't comment because I'm pretty sure everyone knows I cook, I eat, and I lift weights. And that's really about it. Although right now we are actually in what I just named my shack, the shed in the backyard, which is kind of my art studio for my work, if I ever decide to get to doing any. It's more of a recording studio, but it was a really cool discussion by Matt Snyder. So that was awesome, man. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I threw in a couple things there. Of course, I'm a bit of a Renaissance man, so I'm like throwing out a litany of different things that are both semi-professional and semi-not for me. So I want to shout out Matt Johnson. He posted on Wednesday talking about how he's been about 3.5 months into the keto life, and I'm feeling 1,000% better. He's down 54 pounds. He needs to lose another 46, he says. I'll be honest, from the picture, it doesn't look like it. He's lost a lot of, at least face weight, at least. He doesn't look like the same person in these pictures. I firmly believe that unwanted eating habits, drinking habits, lack of exercise, etc., that we battle in our culture are first and foremost a mental and spiritual battle. If we want to see any progress in our health or weight, we need to first break the agreements, lies that we've made with others, with ourselves, and with our culture that have shaped us. And he goes on in some very good, encouraging and informative words that basically lighten the fire under my rear end a little bit. So definitely a good word and a good contribution from him. And again, from these pictures, he's killing it at 54 pounds weight loss. He's doing really, really good because what we're seeing already is pretty darn good. So that's my shout out for the week. Any parting shots, gentlemen?
Like I offered up to everyone. John actually took us up on the offer. So come on down to Texas. We'll treat you pretty much how we treated John. We'll get a workout in. We'll eat a bunch of barbecue. All the welcome to come to my house, and we'll hang out. And you get to meet my family like John did. So thanks for that. Thanks for coming to hang out with me, meeting the family, and chilling out and making the voyage, man.
It was worth it. Good for the soul.
Good. Jim, how about you?
Just continued appreciation for all the men who are requesting to join the group. We're closing in on 2,800 members right now. By the time this one goes live, we may be at 29 or even 3,000. So, it's just awesome to see the engagement and ongoing support. So always appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for our listeners, let's go ahead and review a couple ways that the listeners can get in contact with us to follow us. We have done a little bit of a switcheroo. TheKetoMansClub.com now directs you to a quick link page, a link tree where you can get access to the podcast, to our Facebook group, and all of our socials. So you don't have to worry about a whole bunch of special links or usernames even. You can quite simply just go to theketomansclub.com and you'll get a full list of our links. But let's go through them anyway, just in case people want to hear them. So people can connect with me on Instagram by going to @DuckmanKeto or Duckman1221. Both of those I post to pretty much equally, which is very little. And so, but feel free to follow me there. I post there probably more than I do Facebook. And that includes into the group. So that's a good way to follow me and some of my antics that I deal with on a daily basis. Jim, how about you?
You can find me, excuse me, of course, in the Facebook group, but then on Instagram, Jim Inman Jr. You'll see probably a majority of pics of my 3 Labradors, but there's other stuff periodically as well.
Yeah, Berto.
Keto related stuff, it is at the Keto Cholo, and that's where it's just mostly fitness and keto. And if you're into pictures of me mixing paint that look very trippy and weird, that would be at @_painter.
Can I just add real quick? So it's interesting to see the Keto Cholo hashtag. I'm so impressed that you are expanding on that hashtag world.
Love it. Yeah, it started off as a joke. It continues to be a joke, but we're going to run with it and see what happens. I find it hilarious. I almost can't even bring it up, without giggling a little bit, but it's fitting. So I'm going to run with it. And other place to get a hold of me would be obviously the group on Facebook, where, as John so eloquently described, if you message me enough, eventually you'll just get my phone number and we'll become best friends. Life will be good.
Yep, pretty much. John, how can people connect with you?
All right, so I am the Mighty Oak 77 on Instagram and Twitter, and because I have some clients that like to stalk me occasionally, I am John W. Oaks on Facebook, but your best bet would be to find me on the Keto Man's Club.
Very cool. Okay, well, that's pretty much it for us this week. If you do get the chance to, please take a moment to leave a rating, leave a comment on the podcast. Your feedback is absolutely important to us. You can provide that in the comments on Apple Podcasts or on your podcast app, more than likely. You can also email us at ketomansclubpodcast@gmail.com, so feel free to reach out to us there, or on our Instagram, the Keto Man's Club Podcast on Instagram. So you've got a few different ways. Again, you can visit theketomansclub.com to access all of that, our podcast, our socials, all that. Well, it's been a pleasure getting to speak with you all once again, as always, but this time especially because we get to chat in person with our friend and our guest today, and so that's always a good thing. So that's it for this week. Until next week, make sure to eat meat, lift heavy, sleep, and repeat.
Thank you for joining us for the Keto Man's Club podcast. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Would you help us spread the word about the Keto Man's Club by sharing with your friends and family? We're available on all podcast platforms, so just search for Keto Man's Club and you'll find us. If you would like to connect with us, you can do so a number of ways. Our web address leads to our Facebook group, theketomansclub.com. That's TheKetoMansClub.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Keto Man's Club Podcast. Lastly, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out via email to KetoMansClubPodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to hanging out with you again next week.